But now I understand there's something about being inspired while you're chasing your dreams, whether that's a micro working on your laptop in a coffee shop or macro checking in with your purpose and your why throughout, that I didn't really understand until I experienced it for myself.
The reason why is because I wanted to get up the next day and do it all over again. To me, that was it. Hearing them partying outside while I was inside building toward our dreams, that to me is what was so inspiring.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1573. Don't worry about getting there fast. Today, for episode number 1574, does inspiration help you get your goals quicker? I know it might seem like you guys just talked about not getting there fast, but now we're talking about getting there faster. That's not my intention behind this episode. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. I had to get an oil change on my car. Now, let me preface with, I understand this part might not land, but I promise it will connect with something that should land. Had to get an oil change for my car. Dropping it off at 8:15 in the morning.
That's how every good story starts.
Always.
I had to get an oil change of my car.
And then dropped it.
Oh, that's going to be a good one, I can tell.
I chose to drop it off at 8:15. Taryn was going to drive down there with me and then drive me back. And then I was going to go get it later.
Nice.
She said, hey, is there any way you can stay? Do you mind staying? Something came up. I have to be somewhere. I said, nah, it's all gravy. I'll stay. Shouldn't take that long. So I go down. Awesome. Here are my keys. Fill out the paperwork. Cool. I texted Taryn because she said, hey, how's it going? How's it going with your oil change? Do you need me to come pick you up? And I said, no, I am living the dream right now. I am in a dealership that has a bunch of expensive cars, and it's super inspirational to me. Working in this environment is just super inspirational. And it took me back to the time frame where we were talking in the previous episode where I was riding the struggle bus, where there was this coffee shop near the town we lived in. And on days that I didn't have a bunch of calls, but back then I didn't have a bunch of calls because there wasn't a lot going on.
Might have been why we were broke.
That was definitely one of the reasons. I would go to this coffee shop and I would get an iced latte and I would sit out on the deck, and it was the best. I used to tell you, I know I probably shouldn't be spending like $6 for this iced latte, but I don't know how to explain it, man. I get so inspired when I'm at this place. And I'm sending messages and I'm working on stuff and I'm tracking my habits and I'm listening to audiobooks. It's just a different vibe. I don't know how to explain it. I get the same thing when we go to Vermont. Taryn's family has a house in Vermont, and it's right on Lake Champlain, and it is like the best. I love it. It is one of my favorite places in the world. Every time I go up there, I get a new jolt of energy because I'm super inspired. I don't know if it's being by the water or just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I in the past was guilty of suggesting everybody work the way I do, the way we do. But I'll just speak for myself. Where you should lock yourself in your office. You shouldn't get any external light. Don't worry about the sun. You don't need it. Even though it's good for you. You should just do that. It used to confuse me when I would see people going and working at coffee shops, because in my mind it was like, there's no way you're going to be able to get that much done compared to me locking myself in the office with nothing going on. But now I understand there's something about being inspired while you're chasing your dreams, whether that's a micro working on your laptop in a coffee shop or macro checking in with your purpose and your why throughout, that I didn't really understand until I experienced it for myself. I love waking up in Vermont, walking down to the dock with an audiobook in my ear. There's nothing like that. I am so inspired to learn and get better and grow and evolve. And I always come back with new lessons and new breakthroughs. So I figured doing an episode like this, I don't know. I know we're hardcore very often. And I think obviously consistency, commitment, discipline, all that stuff is necessary for success. But this is the other side of it. This is the more spiritual side. This is the more inner alignment side. This is the more intuition side of, if you have a place that inspires you and you think you can do more, you can do better, you can connect with yourself and your mission and your purpose at a deeper level, I would say it's probably good to visit.
So where I would go with this episode is, what inspires you? I think that's really the question to ask. Because when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about in this episode, I kind of had this dialogue inside my head of, is anyone else going to resonate with what inspires me? I don't know. I think we'll give it a shot. But underneath this, I want everyone thinking about what inspires them. So Kevin just talked about a couple things that inspires him. I'm going to talk about a couple things that inspire me, but I want you, listener, to be thinking about what inspires you. What inspires you? So Kevin and I had a studio for 3 years?
3 years? 2 years, I think.
2 years? And it was honestly pretty awesome.
It was the best.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we did it up right. We did not get our security deposit back because we ripped.
Yeah, if you watched us back then, you'd see the fake wood, the fake wood
background.
panels behind us were adhesive, and there was a miscommunication between myself and the property manager. I thought they wanted us to take them down when we left. I didn't think they'd want us to just leave them up. Taking them down left many holes / destructions of the wall, and we did not get our security deposit
Didn't
back.
they tell you the day of, like, just take them down?
I don't know.
And
I
I
don't
remember you
remember.
saying that we're good. I already checked with the guy. So anyways, we weren't vandalizing or anything like that.
Oh, yeah,
This
yeah,
was
no.
this was we're supposed to take these down. Ooh, okay, some of the
Miscommunication.
wallpaper came off. Yeah,
It was just a
miscommunication. So
miscommunication.
I didn't mean to make it sound like we were vandalizing.
No
things or
criminal
anything like that.
activity was happening.
No, of course not. And we paid dearly for that with the security deposit that we never got back. But anyways, okay, so that's neither here nor there. We had a studio, and when we left the studio, unpacking it was very nostalgic because we had spent 2 years of our life there. And I remember before we left, I asked Kev, what are you going to miss the most? I think of that Friends episode at the end when they're leaving the apartment for the very last time. If you're a Friends fan, you know what I'm talking about. It's very nostalgic. It's we're never going to be here again. This is it. We have so many memories in that studio, man. Good, bad, ugly. It was the place for years of our life. And before we left, after we had packed the cars, it was, okay, what are you going to remember most? Do you remember what you said? I don't know if I remember what you said.
No, I probably had some silly breakfast. There was a breakfast place downstairs.
That's right. That is
really
what you
good.
said.
Yeah,
the breakfast
that
downstairs.
was-
What was that place called?
Oh, no.
Lucky's Cafe or something?
Lucky's Cafe. They went out of business, unfortunately. There was again, you want to talk about
That's
inspiration?
because you left.
I know. No, somebody else bought them out.
Yeah.
I would get there. So at that point, we went to the studio right after we got the studio during COVID.
Yeah.
Because we did a virtual tour. We didn't see the place before we got it. I used to go, when the gyms opened, I would go to the gym, I'd shower at the gym, and I would go down to the studio, and I'd get to the studio at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And there was something so inspirational for me about just turning on, we had mood lights, much like I have in my studio. Turning those on, connecting my laptop to the big screen, making a coffee, hammering work, and then getting breakfast. It was like, oh, let me just take the elevator down and get breakfast. It was one of those pinch me things of, I can't believe we have a studio. This is ours, and we get to do whatever we want. We had a couple of guests there. So, yeah, I think it was Lucky's Cafe. My thing I missed the most was breakfast, for sure.
Nice. And that place, I remember the breakfasts you would get were intense.
And they were
home
cheap.
fries, eggs, all that.
Yeah, I used to get an omelet with zucchini and home fries and hash. It was like $7.
Also, every now and then, Kevin and I would go down to this place. Hold on, The Fix Burger Bar. That place had awesome burgers. So if you ever frequent Worcester, if you ever visit Worcester, Massachusetts, The Fix is the place. Okay, and fried pickles. Oh my God.
Yeah,
man.
bad news.
Yeah, we don't always eat well.
My name is Nathan Schwarman. I'm from Lawrence, Kansas. I've been a client of Alan's for coming on 2 years now, and I really can't recommend his program enough. Alan's always there for me with great advice and holding me accountable every step of the way, and really leading by example. I've grown a lot in his program, but he's grown alongside with me, so I'd really recommend joining up on the program and joining the community.
Okay, moving forward. So that was his, and mine is a little weird, so I'm just going to share it. But I said it's the empty parking lot. For 2 years, I don't want to say every single time, but I would say this was grind time. This was building time. I remember I think the second year we had the studio, I was with Emilia, but the first year we had the studio, I was alone. That was like the loneliest time of my life. And I remember I used to frequent the studio and a Panera that was near there, and I used to kind of go between the studio and 2 different Paneras because I wanted good Wi-Fi and I wanted to work, but I didn't necessarily want to be fully alone. That's why I did Panera, where I wasn't fully alone, plus they had bottomless coffee, which was awesome. And then the studio, I did want to be alone. So I remember I would every single weekend, and this has some nostalgia in it too, so I'll explain. There's a place called Ralph's in Worcester where I went for my 21st birthday. It was at WPI, my college. The fraternity that I was in would take you there for your 21st birthday. And so I got hammered on my 21st birthday at this place called Ralph's. Everyone bought you a drink, and it was one of the worst nights of my life. I got lost, I blacked out, I was wasted. It was a whole thing. And Ralph's would be off the hook, for lack of better phrasing, all summer. They had live bands. Do you remember across the parking lot you could hear? I don't know if you were there on the weekends as much as I was, but some weekends you were. But every single weekend, and particularly in the summer, there's something about this. And again, I know this is unique to me, but I want everyone out there listening and thinking about their own, what inspires you. There's something for me about looking out the studio window on the 4th floor at an empty parking lot while everyone else is partying, while I'm working toward our dreams. For me, I'll never forget the empty parking lot every single weekend. I was there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. And I remember after I worked a 12-hour day, I would go to Chipotle and I would get a huge burrito or burrito bowl, and I would get a full Cal Coke and nachos, and I would just watch a movie by myself in the studio. And it was like after a full day's work, to me, that was just heaven on earth. It was the best. And sometimes I would stay at the hotel across the street, which I could not afford at the time. I could, but it was probably not the best idea. And the reason why is because I wanted to get up the next day and do it all over again. To me, that was it. Hearing them partying outside while I was inside building toward our dreams, that to me is what was so inspiring. And while I was there every single time, every weekend, well, I was the only one there because it was a whole complex of a lot of different businesses. So during the weekdays, the parking lot was full. On the weekends, I was the only one working. And for me, that was so inspiring. That was so inspiring because I knew that's what was going to make the difference. And I do believe it did, honestly. And it was tough. It was lonely as hell. But it was worth it.
The studio.
Yeah, man.
Look, I'd like to have one in the future. I know you're not going to necessarily live. Well, we don't live close. We're an hour and 15 minutes away right now, but I don't know. I'd like to have one in the future at some point. I don't know what it's going to look like, but there's just something about going in, turning the lights on, powering up the mics, getting the camera going, and just hammering episodes. So we'll see. But the ultimate point, my next level nugget for this episode is figure out what can you tap into that inspires you. If there's a coffee shop that when you go there, you dream bigger, do it.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things is when I used to go to this coffee shop, I would just believe in myself more. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I don't know if it was because I felt like maybe it made me feel more valuable than I'd ever felt, and that was rare.
Vibe. I think vibe.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too about the dealership I went to. It's a lot of, they're expensive cars. So everybody in there is getting their car fixed. They're successful. They're on business calls, and it's like, oh, I'm a business owner. I fit in here. This is weird.
Yeah.
It was that. It's just, so whatever inspires you, if it's the vibe, if it's the location, if it's the view. I remember we went to Toronto to interview Evan Carmichael, and we had this Airbnb on like the 27th floor of this high rise.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
I know. I got the bedroom that week, which was nice. I was grateful for that. Usually I give it to Alan because he's not going to fit on the couch. I'll fit on the couch. I can wrap up on the couch. But the bedroom I had this floor to ceiling window. And when I woke up, I'd roll it up and you could see like the sunrise, and it was amazing. I was like, this is amazing. I love this. except I don't like the city. So that's my next level nugget. Find what inspires you and chase it. And if you can make that a big part of your life, as big as is reasonable, I would argue that it probably will help you get your goals quicker, as long as you're doing the work, obviously.
I have one more real quick before we go.
Please.
Being on the water.
100%.
Anytime I go to the ocean, so inspiring. The stars, looking up at the stars, so inspiring. Just one last story. We were in Vermont. We got this Airbnb. I can't take credit. Emilia, it was this beautiful cabin in the middle of an orchard, and the brightest stars I'd ever seen it was just us. I mean, I went for a run because I was exercising consistently, and I was genuinely afraid of getting eaten by a bear.
You gotta stop doing reckless shit, dog.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
But, and it's an orchard too, so the animals are like, hey.
Can you imagine something happens to you, they're going to find the podcast clip, and that's what's going to be on the news. It's going to be you saying, I was really scared for my life that time I went for a run around those bears. It's like, but this time, things didn't go Alan's way. So
we got bear spray. So,
okay.
But I'll never forget, it's in an orchard. It's beautiful. Emilia's in the cabin. There's a fire, and it's just this wonderful evening together. And I'm out there running, exercising toward my dreams, and I'm looking up at the stars, and it was unbelievable. So whether it's a lake or an ocean or looking up at the stars, there's certain things that inspire you, and there's certain things that you have go-to inspiration. I think you need that. I remember looking up. I was listening to a motivational video while running, and it was so inspiring. And I was just thinking about, I've been doing this ever since I was a kid. I would go out to we grew up on a large pond, small lake, and I would go out to the water, and whether it was raining or whatever, and I would just look out and I would just dream. I would think about what could be. That's what dreaming is, just thinking about what could be. And I would do that all the time, actually. Sometimes I'd go in the woods and I'd do it. That's been a through line for me. I remember, very last thing I promise, we created something called the manifestation equation at NOU. If you want it, it's 10 steps. It's very in-depth. It's really, really powerful. You can email me, alan@nextleveluniverse.com. It's called the manifestation equation. And basically what you do is you assess which one's the bottleneck to you manifesting your dreams. All of us are good at most of them, but we have a couple that are just giant kinks in the hose, so to speak. So email me if you want that. I'll send it right to you. Very powerful. But anyways, Kevin came up with one of the steps. He's like, dude, where's visualization?
Damn right.
He said, where's visualization / emotionalization? And I was like,
not for you.
Nah, man. Nope. And then I realized, I do that all the time automatically. I don't ever not do that. I'm doing that all the time. And he said, not everybody is. You got to put that in there. That's step number 2 now. So it's called visualization / emotionalization. And it's exactly what Kevin was doing back then, going to that coffee shop. That's exactly what you were doing. You were writing down your goals and your dreams while there, visualizing and emotionalizing. That's why you rented that BMW. Mercedes, my bad. You rented that Mercedes, and then that was your inspiration to get the BMW. So anyways, visualization / emotionalization is super important. It's definitely something that I do automatically, and I've been doing it ever since I was a kid. But more and more and more of that for sure, as long as you follow it up again with work and discipline and consistency and commitment.
One of the things I do, I haven't been doing this as much lately, but I used to do this every night before bed. When I closed my eyes to go to bed, I would imagine I was in a different room than I was in. And like there's a window here and I can hear the waves crashing, and there's a fireplace here. And that's like the dream home in the future. I haven't been doing that as much. I had a moment last night, intuitive moment. We were talking about this in a previous episode, where I have to start meditating again. Don't know why. Don't know how to explain it. But I'm missing out on some creative stuff, and I can just tell.
You got to do it.
I can just tell. So maybe we'll start with 10 minutes. Something easy.
There you go. And you can call it visualization / emotionalization.
Yeah. Put it on my PPT. One less thing for me to do. One more thing for me not to do. And my score is going to be lower than it already is.
Yeah, it's important.
I would agree with that. Next Level Nation, if you have not yet joined our private Facebook group yet, please do. A group of like-minded humans who want to grow and evolve. I know community can be hard to find. This community is for you. If you listen to this show, this community is for you. I promise you belong, you will fit in, and you will be appreciated there. Link will be in the show notes as always.
If you want to do that manifestation assessment with me, you can jump on a half-an-hour session. The link will be in the show notes. I love to meet our listeners. We'll go through it. There's 10 steps. and it'll make more sense when we jump on the phone, but we'll rate you from 0 to 10. Self-awareness is one of them. Strict alignment is one of them. Visualizing and emotionalization is one of them. Strategy is one of them. We rate you from 0 to 10. We figure out where the bottlenecks are. Because if you never visualize and emotionalize, but you're always 10 out of 10 work ethic, you might not be manifesting the vision that you want. If you're the opposite, where you're always visualizing and emotionalizing, but you're not working, then you're not going to take action towards your dream. So we'll find the kink in the hose. Link will be in the show notes. You can email me, alan@nextleveluniverse.com. If you don't want to get on the phone with me, you just want the PDF, I'll send it right on to you.
And by phone, Alan means Zoom.
Zoom, yes.
We'll lock up the old landline. I'll dial it in. All that happy
We'll go
jazz.
over to the payphone. I used to actually do coaching calls on the phone. I don't anymore.
I've
I've decided not to do that.
We were
Zoom
talking
only.
about that. We were talking about that recently. Tomorrow, for episode number 1575, a little Monday NLU. One reason we all need to avoid fake confidence. This came from, a lesson from our first call of Group 13 for group coaching. One reason we all need to avoid fake confidence. That will be tomorrow's episode. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Stay inspired. Next explanation.